Good morning. I'm Jason Brett. I'm the host of Product Coffee, and I'm glad to have you all here with us today. We're going to be kicking off a session 2 in our series of Pragmatic Institute at Product Coffee. And we're doing a 4-part product strategy and leadership series that's based on a lot of the expertise that the pragmatic instructors from around the country have been building over their lives. And a few weeks ago, we had Paul Young, who came in and talked about product strategy and strategic planning. Today, we're going to talk about stakeholder alignment, and we'll introduce Cindy in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to take just a moment to thank our sponsors. We couldn't do Product Coffee every week. It's a fairly easy thing for you to attend, but there's a lot that goes into planning and executing and the technology and the subscriptions that we need to make Product Coffee real. So we got 3 sponsors so far this year, and the first is Skookum, which is a global logic company. And I am going to surprise my friend Drew, who I see is on the phone from Skookum, and ask him to introduce Skookum and say a couple words on behalf of Skookum.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So Skookum is a digital consultancy, and we have offices in at least domestically in Charlotte, Denver, and Atlanta. But we work with partners on the full range of the digital spectrum, from upstream and true business strategy and product strategy, all the way through engineering and ultimately implementation. So if anybody has any questions about getting products or strategies off the ground, certainly feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. Thanks, Drew. And Sarah gave us a little teaser a moment ago, but I want to thank, once again, Pragmatic Institute has been sponsoring product camps and product coffee since the beginning. Our very first product camp Atlanta back in 2009, the team at Pragmatic, then it was Pragmatic Marketing, said, hey, you're doing a product camp, count us in, we will help you make this a success. And they've been with us ever since. And it didn't change a bit when we started Product Coffee. They said, absolutely, we're in. Sarah, you want to say a couple of words about Pragmatic Institute again?
Sure. I'll actually pass it on to Cindy.
Great.
We'll
Cindy.
Introduce her. She's why we're all here.
Well, hello. Nice to see everybody. I've been sitting here listening, and shout out to my friend Steve Johnson, right? Love that you're here today. So Pragmatic Institute's been around for 28 years. I feel old, but I went to my first class in 1996. Steve Johnson was my instructor way back. And we are in the business of really helping you be more effective. We focus in on the areas of product management, product marketing, data science, and newly have integrated into our curriculum design. But our training courses result in certifications that are very sought after by employers. I myself have worked for 9 different technology companies. Like all of our instructors, we have done the job. For me, it was over 25 years in technology positions, but using what we teach. And so in class, we use a lot of that experience to help you connect with some of these best practices and achieve that certification. One last thing to let you all know about is, by participating in our training, you get access to our worldwide Pragmatic alumni community. Not only another place to connect, but where you can also join and connect with us even more as instructors and all the materials that we have. So I'm excited to jump in and tell you a little bit more about product strategy and stakeholder alignment in a few minutes.
Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. I'm going to just a couple more real quick things before we kick into the program. I want to remind you to please invite guests and friends to Product Coffee. The more professionals that we have here joining these events, the richer the conversation. So it's very self-serving for you to invite your colleagues. Of course, we want to grow the audience here. We've got capacity for about 100 people every week, and we'd like to fill that up every single week. So please share Product Coffee when you get your invitation each week. Share that with 1 or 2 or 3 professional colleagues that you think would make a good fit for our community. Invite them to come with you. Next week, we're going to be doing a really cool session on getting to why and identifying what really matters. Why are your customers really focused in on doing business with you? How can you understand what the value that they're looking to gain from their relationship with you, and make sure that you're delivering that and having that radical impact on the business that you set out to have by really connecting with your customers. So join us next week. The invitations for that will go out this afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing you back for that. I want to also point out, for those of you who are new, what we do is you can go over to productcoffee.com/resources, and you'll find a page here with a few things that will help you out through today's session and beyond. A link to Cindy's LinkedIn profile, a link to the session that I talked about with Paul Young in our first session in this series, as well as something that's really important, and that's the notes for today's meetup. If you click on that document, you can actually save this to your own Google Drive. We have an open notes page. And what we ask everybody to do is, we're going through the session today, take notes as a team. As you're taking notes, as you hear a thought or a concept that rings out as an important concept for today's session, grab it in your own words, and it can show up 2 or 3 times. The more people who contribute to this notes document, you create a nice, robust document that has multiple viewpoints, and it survives beyond today's show. So you can save this off to your own Google Drive, save the link to it, and you'll have access to it after to come back and remember later. A lot of people take screenshots of something that they may see on the screen to remind them and drop them in the document as well. Whatever works for you, share with your colleagues. When you do, make sure you drop your name and a link to your LinkedIn profile down here in the contributors section as well, to connect even further after the series. And you'll also find on the resources page a link to the post-event survey. And if you fill out the post-event survey at the end of the session before you leave, and if you leave your contact information, which is optional, you will be entered in a drawing for a book that we'll give away in a few weeks as well. So I'd love to have your feedback. I want to hear your honest feedback about these sessions and how they help you, or don't, or what we could do to make them more valuable. So with that, and without any further ado, I'm going to swing the camera, I'm going to stop sharing and swing the camera back over to Cindy, and let Cindy take us away with our session today. Thanks so much for being here, Cindy. But you're still on mute.
Well, there we go. You are welcome. Can you see my screen here, everybody? Yeah,
Gotcha.
All right. Always have to adjust a little bit as we do this. Great to be here. I am based in Washington, D.C., neighbor here of Steve Johnson, and an instructor for the last 4 years at Pragmatic. But before that, I was running product management in a technology company. I've worked in 5 different industries. It's very fun to hear different perspectives here from not only healthcare, but other industries here today. So when we talk about product strategy and stakeholder alignment, a lot of things come to mind, right? So I thought what we do today is kind of introduce you to a little bit of the challenge that we face. One of the tools that we teach in Pragmatic, and introduce you to one of those. Jason's going to upload it for you, and we're going to give you some time in a breakout room to practice it, to discuss it with a few of the people here, kind of get up a little closer to it, and then come back and see if you have any questions. You can ask me anything as it relates to that or something else. I'm a fan of all the reactions here in Zoom, so please use them as we go. Let me know, what's resonating, questions and things like that. But let's dive in. When I think about strategy alignment, right? There are some things that we are facing within our organizations. The key challenges are that we're working to be market driven and have the data to influence others around our decisions, but we have a whole lot of opinions that we are working, within our company, and they come from everywhere. It seems like everybody has an opinion. The other challenge that we face, I heard a little bit of this before, is that we have a lot of different stakeholders. They don't necessarily understand our vision for the product. Perhaps that vision has evolved, and we need to work to get them to buy into that. Especially if it's different from ours, perhaps different from each other. That's the challenge as we work with all of them that we face as we figure out what is our team going to work on, what is that minimal valuable piece that we can get done next in the time allotted, right? So with those in mind, right, let's define a little bit about what I mean by strategy. When we think about the reason we need a strategy, it's because it helps us make a decision, right? Decisions about what to do, what not to do. And when I'm talking about strategy for product, I'm talking about that product level strategy. Perhaps at a business unit level, if you're in a startup with one product, it is the same thing, perhaps. If you're in an enterprise-wide organization, right, we are working on a piece of a platform or a product that needs to sit inside perhaps a portfolio. And as we think about strategy for our product, remember that effective product strategy flows from the top and aligns with that company's strategy. And we have to connect with what the company is expecting us to contribute to with those next things that we're doing in sequence in our roadmap. And so, whatever the top is, board of directors, business unit level, right? Where is that? And what is that business strategy? How does it fit into the portfolio? Again, if you're a startup and you're with a startup, right, you may not have these middle layers. But what we're going to talk about today is that product strategy. And product teams or product managers, product marketers, product owners need to collaborate in order to make sure that what they're doing is aligned. I think that's intuitive. We know that. It's hard to get to that, however. So let me show you what we need to be thinking about. I think we dive in and we solution and we think about features pretty quickly. But if we take a step back and we think about strategy for our products as being defined by two questions, right? It makes it easier. And on the right-hand side here, you see an illustration of a market segment that we might be focused on. And different colors represent different populations that are meaningful to us. And I'm going to walk you through a little bit of this as we think about a tool to help us. But what are these key questions we need to have in mind? First of all, who do you want to pursue? Fantastic question to help us align with these stakeholders. In other words, this means who do you want to win for your product strategy? Is it more important for you to go after current customers, to get even deeper into that current customer base, maybe provide them with more solutions to expand their share of wallet, spend more time and money with you, right? Get to increase satisfaction, make them more sticky? Or are you trying to win new business, net new logos, move in perhaps even to a new market segment? That's what we mean by that first question. The second question is, well, what do you need to build for them? What is the market asking you for? Are they perfectly happy with the product you have today? And they just want enhancements and updates? Or are they asking you to solve problems that you're not solving today, maybe even don't exist today in terms of brand new technology or brand new services? When we focus first on who do we want to pursue, what we want to build becomes centered around the market. And in Pragmatic, that is outside in thinking. To help you do this, we have a tool called the Strategy Matrix. I'm going to walk you through this tool in a moment. But in our curriculum, the Strategy Matrix plays a really important role around stakeholder alignment, even alignment within our own team, right? Helping you answer those two key questions. One of the fantastic things about this, I've used this throughout my career, is that it helps you visualize what your strategy needs to accomplish. Right? It also helps you communicate that. And when we communicate, we're not only trying to seek validation and buy-in, but we're trying to communicate to get everybody on the same page. Maybe we're communicating change as we move through different things impacting us, like a pandemic, which I know many of you have changed your strategies, focused in different areas as a result of that. When we think about this, we're also anchoring this around a particular time frame, and that's really the first thing to note. It could be a year, it could be less than that if you're working with hardware, it could be longer than that. But when we think about who do we want to pursue, let's think about it in the context of a time frame. I'm going to take you through this box by box, and I'll give you a few examples of where and what we might put in each of these intersections. But then in the breakout room, what you're going to do and discuss is which of these intersections are most important to you and why. Okay, so let's start here with the rows. The rows represent who do you want to win, that first question. Who are you trying to pursue? Existing customers is one population in a market that we, of course, want to continue to take care of, increase their satisfaction, perhaps make them stickier, solve problems that are getting in the way of them using our current product. Right? As we think about the next population in our market, we have competitors. They have customers. We'd love them to switch over to our products. Right? We have competitors that we want to make sure we have advantage over so that we win more business. So as a population in our markets, maybe we need to think about our ability to win, our ability to stand out, right? Maybe we have key table stakes, holes in our portfolio against the competition that we need to fill. Or maybe we have things that we want to solve and get ahead and be really differentiated from the competition. The third row represents not customers, but net new logos, people that don't work with our products today. And when you think about that, that is that area within a market that we often describe as the blue ocean, or we think of it as the white space, untapped potential, right? If your strategy for the business is to drive new revenue and growth, right, you want to be focusing on this part of the market. We call that potential group. Okay. Now, these might be people that are working with sales today, that are evaluating. Right? They might be sitting on the sidelines quietly waiting, not really maybe knowing about you, right? Or maybe not sure how you could help them. Maybe we want to pursue them. Now, this is the first three rows really represent the populations in markets where you're already doing business, those industries, those segments, those personas that have problems, that you have some customers today, you want to get more of that share. Perhaps your strategy is to go outside of that, move into a new market segment. Take your product, make some changes to it, take it to a new geography, take it to a new industry as examples of that. Okay, that's what the fourth row reminds us of. Now let's switch gears. Let's talk about, with that in mind, understanding who do we want to pursue, we're automatically thinking about sales, support, market development, our marketing teams. And we're starting to understand and align at the top with those strategies that the business is really handing out uniformly across the organization. Now the question is, with that in mind, what does the market need you to build for them? And when we think about the first column here, I think it's in our wheelhouse. We always think about those existing products, right? Are we going to make improvements to that existing product, add a dimension into a database, make some bug fixes, perhaps tweak the interface to make it easier, more productive. Maybe if you're publishing, maybe add copyright updates, those normal things that we do to keep our products current and working well. Right? If you think about Apple and you think about, the version 14 of the iOS today, right? I think we're on version 4.4, right? That's an example of, when you get that .4 release, it just happens overnight. They push you those updates, and if you care, you'll go really the release notes. If we had things that we wanted to do, they would be in this first column. We don't usually charge our customers, other than maintenance fees, perhaps. We don't usually charge for those incremental updates to existing products. The second column refers to something that we think of as optional, right? You might think of this column as add-ons. But they extend the value of those existing products. And the thing about this second column and anything that we would put here is that there's a hard prerequisite to an existing product. I go back to Apple again, right? If any of you have the Apple Watch on your wrist, right? That's an example of an option, right? It's what we call a delivered option because it comes in a package on its own, separate buying decision, separate price. But it's not for everybody, right? If you're buying that Apple Watch, then you probably have the Apple itself. That's the hard prerequisite. You could buy the watch by itself, but you're not necessarily going to maximize the value of that investment. In a B2B company, all those training programs, those certification programs that we roll out to our customers to participate in are options, right? They pay for it, they get that certification, right, in your company for the products that they are using, right? When we roll out new options, we're giving our company the opportunity to increase share of wallet, spend more money, have those customers spend more money with us over time. Okay. The third column here, kind of net new, completely independent products, solving different problems for different personas, perhaps, that we are focused on. If I think about, it's tax season and I'm kind of in the middle of doing all that, I was thinking about, the personal finance solutions. I think about Quicken, which you probably know in the personal finance space. Right, they have a core set of products that help us with that kind of monthly financial planning. But they have a whole different product called Property Base. If you own different properties, you have different problems, right, that you want to solve, right? Different things you want to track around those investments. And of course, that will link to the other products in their portfolio, but the Property Base is a completely different product for a different set of things that we would do. That's an example of what I mean here, right? Now, the last column, often intriguing, but quite important for us to also think about when we do strategy for our products. This is new technology, net new to our company. Doesn't have to be new in the industry, right? But it's new for us. Right? When I think about net new technology, think about those things that we have to do behind the scenes to put in multi-factor authentication, or perhaps to move us from on-premise to the cloud, or to move us completely to a private or public cloud infrastructure, whatever that shift might be for us, right? And are there new technologies that we need to consider, even refactoring the current platforms that we have as we are thinking about pursuing these parts of the market? Now, almost every time we put something on the right-hand column here, it's going to be connected with other problems we're trying to solve in other intersections. There's obviously a dependency between getting AWS stood up, getting multi-factor authentication stood up, and then building something on top of that to pursue these markets. What we end up with as we go through those is 16 boxes that we could invest in for our product strategy. 16 different ways to do that. And as we think about those investments, I want you to think about your own list, your own backlog, your own list of potential opportunities you might be doing business cases around. Imagine you wrote down on a sticky note every one of those. Question would be, where would you put those opportunities? Which intersections here? Who would you be pursuing on the left? And what is this opportunity really about building for them? Is it an enhancement to an existing product? Is it putting in new technology? Right? As we think about that, and we put those ideas like this on top of the strategy matrix, we start to see the implicit strategy coming together visually. Implicit strategy simply means the things that we're learning about from our channels, from our Voice of the Customer programs, our own market visits and things that we're doing, data we're looking at around adoption, all of those things that give us ideas on what we need to be doing, right? Implicit strategy. Each one of those sticky notes represents something new that we could go build. But this isn't enough. As we're building our strategy, we need to understand what is being counted on by our leadership to deliver to our business strategy. And so let's say you go figure that out, you go talk to some of your leaders. You hear about what the product strategy is, and this is what you hear, right? You hear that they want our teams, that's what those people mean on the slide here, and our budgets, those dollars, they want us to focus on these areas. Now the question is, as you start to learn that, can you overlap that with what the implicit strategy is that you're hearing? And are they lined up? Usually not. Where's the difference? Where are we disconnected? Now, as you go talk to stakeholders across the organization, right? Or you're working in a startup, right? You're getting fast feedback, fast and furious here. This is what it usually feels like to us, right? You're hearing some constituents in the organization really pull you and say, we have got to invest in those existing customers. We have a subscription model. Renewals are important. We want them to stay with us. We want favorable relationships. So we've got to put our people on fixing the things that they want. And then you have somebody else that says to you from the organization, wait a minute, we've got a big number we've got to go get for new revenue. Let's go build new products to really attract and pursue those new customers in our market. Somebody else says to you, top right, we have technical debt that we've got to burn down. We have been investing so much in our product. Let's pause for a moment and let's actually fix this. We got to move some components onto some new areas, right? Somebody else is saying huge opportunity to even get outside of this market and expand our growth exponentially. Let's take our product to a new market. And you know what it feels like? Before you know it, it's like you're doing a bit of everything. You're in every box. You're trying to please everybody. No wonder it takes forever to get anything out the door. And when you do make those trade-offs to get something done of value by the date, you hope that you can go back and add those incremental things. And it's so hard to go back. They wanted you to move forward even further. It's like somebody gave you $16 and you're investing in your product by putting $1 in every single box. You know what we call that at Pragmatic? Peanut butter product strategy. You're spread too thin, folks. This is not going to get you nor your company where we need to go. If an organization attempts to invest in a time frame in all 16 boxes, you know it feels like you're doing this, but you're likely to be doing this, right? Now, using the Zoom reactions in front of you here, use the green check or the thumbs up and tell me if this is your world. Thank you there. Thanks, Jerry. DJ. D. Jamie. Yep. Sandy. Now, the counter theory to this is what we call a lightning strike, right? You can't do everything because you have limited resources. You are in an influential role where you can connect and understand the who we're pursuing from the business strategy point of view to all of the ideas that we're getting. We need to focus our investments and resources. And what we want to tell you at Pragmatic is that it's not 16, it's 4. Get it down to focus. And when we say 4, any 4, what is that balance between pursuing different parts of the market, different market segments, and doing different things within our portfolio? Existing product updates, building new products, putting in new technology. As you pull this together, what and why do you need to do this, right? For a specific time frame, we can also invest in the different boxes to different degrees. And you see here under new options, you see more teams and more dollars being spent in pursuing new customers than perhaps with existing products. We have different numbers of sticky notes in each of those boxes, but which boxes do we need to align our stakeholders around, right? Start with 4. What you're saying is this is where we need to invest first, our primary investments. We could go other places after that, but in order to get where we want to go, we got to go here first. Now I'll show you some examples here and then we're going to practice this. But when we think about companies that are absolutely focused on innovation, building new products to get new customers in the markets that they're in today, putting in new technology to support that, maybe putting in technology and products to get outside into a whole new industry, a whole new vertical, right? And the 4 boxes are probably going to include some of these, maybe not all of them, but some of these will be the focus area. And with that, you would take the sticky notes that represent those different ideas and you would put them inside the boxes that you're focused on. Now, a different strategy might be to focus on developing customer intimacy. And by that, what I mean is some companies have a defined set of accounts that they're working in, and they really want to make sure those customers are happy with the current products. They want to build them options to get them spending more with them over time. That includes new products, and they're constantly evolving technology, right? Less interested in moving outside of that defined customer base, but rather moving within it and more deeply in that space. These are different business strategies. Perfectly fine, right? You don't have to have 4 boxes lined up contiguously next to each other. They could be a little innovation, a little focused on balancing with our existing customers, which is where I think most companies and product managers, as we do our jobs, are trying to get to, okay? Now, what we'd like you to do, Jason's gonna put you in small breakout rooms. I have 2 scenarios here for you. And Jason, can I drop this also in chat? Am I able to do that?
Absolutely. And I have also placed a link to the matrix in the notes document. But yeah, you can drop it right in as well.
Fantastic. I'm going to walk you guys. I'm going to spend 30 seconds here, just walk you through these scenarios, whatever suits you best in your groups here. You do what makes sense, right? The first scenario here, the reason we're putting it in chat is because, when you get into your breakout rooms, you can open up chat and you can see this. You can take a picture of it now if you like. But first scenario here is a generic one that is a very typical thing that I hear in class when I get lots of questions on how do I get my strategy aligned. So let's do this. Generic company Acme growing company, large subscription-based portfolio, their business strategy for the next horizon, whatever that time frame is, maybe a year, is to keep customer retention high, grow revenue from the customer base, while also taking an existing product out to a new vertical where we see opportunity. The technology that they're using is getting out of date, getting obsolete, over 6 years old. They know they need to also focus on investing in the next generation of their platform. So if you discuss as a group, which 4 boxes and intersections in the strategy matrix should they consider for their primary areas of investment and why? Alternatively, you could look at this individually, right? For your organization, what is the most important intersection on the strategy matrix for the next time frame that you're planning for? Give it a try. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll come back and talk about it after. We are here, folks. As the other groups finish up, please feel free to ask me anything or talk amongst yourselves.
Cindy, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
My experience has pretty much been focused on IT project management and dealing with like more internal customers inside of the organization.
Yeah.
So I know that what you're speaking about is more towards external.
Not actually.
Okay.
Would you like me to? Let me show you. When I think about internal products, and in fact, one of the companies that I was a product leader in, I had a part of the portfolio which was really employee-based solutions. Right? We are still going through the same thinking. The outcome of what we do might be a configuration, or might be focused more on getting employees within a particular department to log in and to drive usage and adoption. Right? It doesn't, if you think about the currency of what we're trying to achieve as success, it is that adoption usually. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah. So we just have a different outcome when we think about who we're trying to pursue. Think about that pie chart in terms of the stakeholders within a business. Maybe you might do it by role, right? Often we have roles, maybe analysts that are in different parts of the business. We have a suite of solutions for analysts that are different for maybe agents in the call center. So we have different products that we're pulling together for their productivity. And you might think of the different parts of the market as serving different stakeholders and their constituents in the organization.
Okay.
Yeah, does that connect it for you a little bit?
Yeah, makes sense. It makes sense.
Should have everybody back in the main room, Cindy. Thanks, everybody. I will turn it back over to you, Cindy, to kind of wrap us up, or at least to kind of take us through the rest of the exercise. I will remind everybody on the resources page, productcoffee.com/resources is a link to the survey. Before you leave today, please fill that out. If you do choose to leave your contact information, you will be entered in a drawing to win a book. Thanks a lot. And Cindy, it's back to you. Yeah, so I'm happy to answer any specific questions. I'll give you one more tip from Pragmatic. This is a tool to help you form and visualize your strategy, to take it to your leaders, to take it to your stakeholders, to give them something to connect with. It's a career building tool as well, because it helps the organization see that you're not just a feature manager, right? That we are strategic and thinking about what we're doing to make sure that we align with different parts of the business, right? And it really does result in this two-way collaboration and communication to get us to better alignment. So let us know how it works for you. If you have any questions about it, you know how to reach me. Thanks, Jason. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, I am curious, in your scenario, in the first part of your scenario, is there a pragmatic recommended? I mean, we had great discussion in our room about it and about different ways to approach it. But I'm curious. I was just curious if there's like a recommended.
So here's what I'll say. Great, Jerry, there is no right or wrong answer here, right? If the discussion happened, that's fantastic because we kind of bring different perspectives to it. In a little way, we're practicing the discussion we'll have in our own company, but balance. Don't overly be concentrated on any one box, right? And just to give you an example of where the risk to us that we won't actually achieve our business goals goes up much higher is if we overly focus on that top left box, right? Of doing the things that existing customers want to our existing products, right? If we overly focus on doing everything right there, then we're probably missing out on what's going on in the market. We could be disintermediated, right? So balance between different parts of the market, between what we're doing in our portfolio is what I think we're striving for, even within 4 boxes.
Okay.
I like the question. I bet you're not the only one that had that, so thanks for asking.
Well, I kind of felt like there wasn't a right answer, and I kind of felt like the example was intentionally broad stroke. Mm-hmm. But I was just curious. Yeah, that makes sense. Balance. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
How do you recommend handling the most powerful person in the room trying to redirect your strategy?
Well, thanks for asking that. Probably one of our biggest challenges, right? A pragmatic, you're going to hear that what we want you to do is be the one messenger of the market in the room where you are trying to influence that conversation by bringing data from the market and knowledge where you can explain why things are, what problems are most important, not just your own opinion. That's irrelevant when we say it pragmatic. What's important is what you are hearing directly from the market and having enough context on why it's important to the market, having enough conversations directly so that you get your own firsthand.
Is Cindy muted?
Cindy, you're on mute.
The last bit.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Weird. But you may not get to the outcome that you personally think you should do, but you've done your job to influence the conversation. Yeah? Does that help, Jessica?
Great, thank you. That is good. Yep. So bring both quantitative and qualitative data, and directly from customers and prospects is powerful.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. Sorry. Hi, I'm Aisha. I'm based in London. I have a question around, do you always recommend just ticking or focusing on just 4 of the boxes or intersections, or is that largely dependent on investment and resources available to the organization? 4
is a really good area to focus, right? And because you're going to have multiple sticky notes inside each box to different depths, so it could be a whole lot of work. But I think here's the filter on how many strategy matrix you might actually need to think through. Imagine the team that you're trying to prioritize what they do, right? And they could be working on different products. They could be working on different solutions for different parts of the market. That's whose time you're trying to prioritize at the end of the day. It's the investments that that group of individuals works on. And so start with 4. Can you get to 4 and think of it as the primary way to invest? You could go to other boxes after you got those first ones done. I know some companies, look at it as, we got to get these 2 areas really well aligned first, right? Doesn't mean you can't go to other areas. And here's the other thing, when the time horizon changes, your business strategy could change. And so start over, refresh your strategy matrix to be in line with that business strategy in that new time frame. So different things to think about as you implement this.
We got one more question from Derek Mitchell. Derek, go for it.
Okay. Cindy, you just said something that kind of struck a nerve with me. You mentioned something about showing value as more than just a feature manager but also more a strategic sense as well. And in my last job, I was a business analyst, and a lot of times what I saw is that IT wasn't even in the room when technical decisions are being made. And so we pretty much just executed the strategy, but weren't included in the decisions. So how is this tool valuable in really showing what your real worth and value is if you aren't even in the room when the decisions are being made?
Great, Derek, fabulous question. I totally understand where you're coming from. Let's kind of think about, let's say you are in a meeting with somebody telling you what that strategy is. I pull out this strategy matrix and I would say, you know what? That sounds really good. Could you answer a few questions for me? Who are we trying to pursue? What problem are we trying to solve? Just those two questions, right? You are reframing the conversation from what to who. And at the very least, you're helping yourself understand what success looks like, right? What's winning? What's a good job, right? Is it hitting a date, or is it something that you're enabling another part of the organization to do their job better and make more money for the company? Just by asking those questions, you're conveying to whoever you're talking to that you're being strategic, that you understand. And that's how you get invited into those meetings.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think no matter what we're doing, right? Let's, as a product manager, project manager, have this construct so that we understand the frame of what we're doing.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Cindy. Thanks, Derek. Thanks, everyone who came. Really want to take another moment. I want to give thanks to our sponsors, both Skookum and Pragmatic Institute. Thank you so much for your time, Cindy. This has been a great session. If you remember, folks, if you want to continue the discussion, head over to productcoffee.com/group and join our LinkedIn group. If you haven't done that already, you'll be able to connect with each other very easily there. And we will be back next week on Wednesday morning at our regular time at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. And I look forward to seeing you then. Bye.